What do Robert F. Kennedy, Janet Reno, and Alberto Gonzales have in common? These people have held the office of United States Attorney General. The United States Attorney General is the head of the Department of Justice and the chief law enforcement officer of the federal government. The position is part of the President's cabinet, which includes the Vice President and the President's 15 other most important advisors. The office of the Attorney General is historical. The Attorney General is an original part of our federal government. It's modeled after the British Attorney General and was created during the first meeting of Congress by the Judiciary Act of 1789. This act organized the administration of the judicial branch of the nation's new government. Remember that the judicial branch includes the United States Supreme Court and all other federal courts. The Attorney General, however, is part of the executive branch, along with the President and the rest of the President's cabinet. The President appoints the Attorney General. This means the Attorney General is nominated by the President and then confirmed by the U.S. Senate. Also note that there's no set time period on the Attorney General's term. The President can remove the Attorney General from office at any time, which is why the office usually changes when the presidency changes. As of 2014, our U.S. Attorney General is Eric Holder. He serves as our 81st Attorney General. Now let's take a look at the role and purpose of the U.S. Attorney General. The Attorney General's main purpose is to supervise the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice includes many important federal law enforcement agencies, such as the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, the Drug Enforcement Administration, or DEA, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, or ATF, the Bureau of Prisons, the Office of Justice Programs, the U.S. Attorneys, and the U.S. Marshals Service. As the chief law enforcement officer of the federal government, the Attorney General serves many vital roles. The Attorney General represents the United States in court cases and legal matters, gives legal advice to the President and the Cabinet, and appears before the Supreme Court in important legal matters involving the nation or federal government. Because the U.S. Attorney General has so many different roles, the office has been involved in some interesting cases and issues. For example, then Attorney General Janet Reno authorized the 1993 raid on the Branch Davidian religious compound in Waco, Texas. More than 70 ATF agents raided the compound in order to serve arrest and search warrants based on the illegal possession of firearms and explosives. However, a gun battle ensued, resulting in the death of 4 agents and 6 Davidian members. The ATF didn't get inside the compound that day. After a 51-day standoff, Reno authorized the FBI to launch a tear gas attack on the compound, and the compound caught on fire. Authorities still don't know definitively if the Davidians set the fire or if the tear gas somehow caused a fire. Instead of surrendering, about 80 Davidians died in the fire, including almost 30 children. Reno isn't the only Attorney General who faced controversy. In 2001, then Attorney General John Ashcroft declared that physician-assisted suicide violated a federal law regulating controlled substances. Ashcroft threatened to revoke the medical licenses of any physicians who prescribed lethal doses of controlled substances, even though an Oregon law permitted physicians to prescribe lethal doses to terminally ill patients. The Oregon law is known as the Death with Dignity Act. Oregon fought back by suing Ashcroft in federal court. The court ruled in Oregon's favor, saying that Ashcroft couldn't regulate physician-assisted suicide since it was a medical matter best left to the states. More recently, Attorney General Eric Holder handled issues regarding the closing of Guantanamo Bay Detention Camp and the transferring of accused terrorists to jails within the U.S. Let's review. The United States Attorney General is the head of the Department of Justice and the chief law enforcement officer of the federal government. It's part of the President's cabinet, which includes the Vice President and the President's 15 other most important advisors. It was created by the Judiciary Act of 1789, which organized the administration of the judicial branch of the nation's new government, though the Attorney General is part of the executive branch. The Attorney General's main purpose is to supervise the Department of Justice, which includes the FBI, the DEA, the ATF, the Bureau of Prisons, the Office of Justice Programs, the U.S. Attorneys, and the U.S. Marshals Service. The Attorney General's important roles include representing the United States in court cases and legal matters, giving legal advice to the President and the Cabinet, and appearing before the Supreme Court in important legal matters involving the nation or the federal government.